Hey, what's up, guys? So today we're going to be writing a book with ChatGPT using a novel writing system that I developed earlier this year. We're going to be starting with idea, plot, and then moving all the way down to chapters, proofreading, and then creating the title for the novel. This is actually a redo of a walkthrough that I did earlier this year. It was about an hour and 40 minutes, so we're going to try to keep this one under 30 minutes and provide as much value as possible. If you want this novel writing system, you can click the link in the description. Go ahead and grab a copy. It'll have frameworks that you can use to build worlds, believable characters, and solid ideas. So let's go ahead and get started with an idea. All right, so what genre do you want to produce? Here's a list of subgenres. You got space exploration, bounty hunters, crime fiction, drugs, espionage. You can go to Amazon and it'll have a whole list of genres you can plug in, and then you can give a description along with the prompt. So generate a list of story ideas for a science fiction novel based on subgenre. It could be alien invasion, colonization, dystopian. And then once you put that prompt in, you'll get a story idea based on those genres you combine. So let's go ahead and plug this in. Okay, so I went ahead and went to Amazon to grab some subgenres for a crime novel. I got dystopian, organized crime, murder, and suspense. And then I told ChatGPT to generate a list of ideas for it, and it gave me 10 of them. You can prompt it to give more, give less. You can add details that you want ChatGPT to include inside the story ideas. And you can also give it locations, time periods. It's all up to you how you want ChatGPT to generate your story. You got where does it take place, what does the civilization look like, the technology, the main character that fits in, what characters will move the story forward, and what is the main threat the characters will face in the world. And then here's some more prompts. If you haven't already, grab the ChatGPT novel writing system in the link below. You'll also get frameworks to get more creative with story ideas and prompts. All right, so if you don't know what plot is the sequence of events that make up a story. It is the way the story unfolds from beginning to end. There are various ways you can plot a fiction novel. You can do a 3-act structure, a 4-act structure. You have 5-act structure. My favorite is The Story Circle by Dan Harmon. That's what I use. But if you're just starting writing, just stick with the 3-act structure and you should be good. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a prompt and then plug it into ChatGPT. Take one of these ideas, plug it in here, and then ChatGPT will start fleshing out your idea into a 3-act structure. All right, so we have a 3-act structure here. If you don't like it, you can always hit regenerate and then add your. All right, so here's the 3-act structure ChatGPT gave us. If you don't like it, you can prompt GPT to change something about, let's say, the second act. If you don't like point 4, you can come in here and tell ChatGPT to change. All right, so here's the 3-act structure that ChatGPT generated for us based on the idea above. You can change anything you want about this structure, whether you're not feeling Act 1, Act 2, or a point in Act 1 or Act 2. You can prompt ChatGPT to change Act 1.1 and then add the detail you want it to correct or add to the story. Or if you don't like it at all, you can just hit regenerate and you'll get a different. What I like to do is I like to prompt ChatGPT to generate 3 to 4 3-act structures. That way I can read through it all at once without hitting regenerate a whole bunch of times. I can pick the best one that fits the story I'm trying to write, and then I can correct it from there. So read over your 3-act structure that it produced. Once you have one that you're okay with, you can move over to character development. All right, so let's talk about character development for a minute. Character development is the craft of giving the character a personality, depth, and motivation that propels the story forward. You might have a character already for your novel. If you do, you can still plug them in and combine everything all together within ChatGPT. For example, here's a prompt. You'll want to plug in your character's information along with the idea, and then you'll add the character's name, and then is the protagonist of this novel. Write a quick backstory based on this information. Or you can have the character's name is a protagonist of this novel. Write a character arc for this character that ties into the plot. And if you grab the ChatGPT novel writing system, you'll have access to frameworks for training ChatGPT on writing believable characters for your story. It works really well for ChatGPT 4. It does a great job in ChatGPT 3.5 if you can't get the subscription model. All right, so once you have your plot, we're going to move on to world building. This is just your location and the setting your story takes place. The prompt can be as simple as you want it to be, but the more complex the prompt is, the better output you'll get from ChatGPT. For example, this story will take place in, let's say, Miami. Write a short description about this environment that ties into the plot. So let's take this prompt just for example and plug it into ChatGPT and see what it gets. All right, so this is a short description about the environment the story will take place. What I like to do is I like to use ChatGPT 4. It gets more creative. It's $20 a month for that subscription. But if you can't afford that, you can always just use ChatGPT 3.5 and you'll get a decent output. If you don't like it, again, you can make changes. You can add more details about the environment, more details about the technology, if there's any technology, details about power systems if you're writing fantasy or science fiction. You got weaponry, and then you can also have vehicles and transportation. Specifically, if you're writing science fiction, I know there's a lot of ships, a lot of cruisers, that type of thing. Once you have all that, you can move on to character development and outlining. Okay, so you have your idea, you have your plot, you got your characters, you got your world building done. Now you can outline based on all the information you use to generate in ChatGPT. What I like to do is I like to divide the outlining process into 3 phases with ChatGPT. So I'll have a basic outline. I usually call this bullet outlines. They're just a few sentences. And then an expanded outline that adds more depth to the basic bullet points. And then I'll take those bullet points and that expanded outline into ChatGPT and flesh it out and add more details. That way, when it's time to write chapters, ChatGPT has enough information to write a full in-depth chapter with dialogue and narrative. All right, so now what you're going to do for your basic prompt outline is you're going to bring in your 3-act structure. Either you wrote or you had ChatGPT produce, and you're going to prompt it to outline a novel based on that 3-act structure, the plot, the setting, the location, characters, and the protagonist, antagonist. And use this prompt. You can use this prompt if you want. You can create your own prompt. If you have this novel writing system, which you get in the description below, I have frameworks where you can use these frameworks to get really good outputs that are creative and different from what anybody else would be able to produce with basic prompts. Take this prompt, plug it into ChatGPT, and then you'll end up getting a basic bullet point outline like this based on your 3-act structure or whatever structure you chose, your story idea, your characters, your world. And what I like to do for crime novels is write about 24 to 34 chapters, and I'll have ChatGPT create bullet points for each chapter, and each chapter basically being a main idea or a scene. So you can see Sarah, based on the story idea that I was working on for a thriller. You have Sarah arrives at a Hawthorne University, excited and anxious about her college journey. Sarah meets her roommate, Emily, and Emily's older sibling, Alex, and they quickly become friends. Sarah overhears about rumors about unexplained disappearances on campus, piquing her interest and curiosity. So this goes on basically for 24 bullet points, and each one of these will be a chapter. So after you have your basic outline, you'll want to move on to expanding that outline. And before moving on to expanding the outline, you want to make sure you read through it, make sure there's no inconsistencies, make sure the continuity is good, make changes if you need to. That way you're not getting lost when you move on to expanding and fleshing out the outline. So here's a prompt you can use for expanding your outline. Expand this basic outline using the 3-act structure. Expand this basic outline using, and then you'll plug in your 3-act structure based on the plot, setting, location, characters, protagonist, antagonist, technology, weapons, and world building. And then you'll get your output. Again, read through and make sure there's no inconsistencies. Make sure the continuity is good. Right here, I had it expand with exposition, conflict, and resolution to the chapter. Now, once you have your outline, you can prompt ChatGPT to start fleshing out the outline. Now that you have your chapters outlined, you can move on to fleshing out the outline with this prompt. Flesh out the expanded outline using, and then you'll plug in your 3-act structure based on the plot, setting, location, characters, character arcs, protagonists, weapons, world building, all that. And then again, you'll want to make sure you read through, make sure there's no inconsistencies, make sure the continuity is good. Okay, now we're getting to the good part where we expand our chapters. We expand our outline into full chapters. If you have a favorite author or a writer that writes similar to you, or you write similar to them, you can draw inspiration from them by telling ChatGPT to use those writers as inspiration for your story. But you don't have to do that. You can also build frameworks into ChatGPT about how you write, and ChatGPT will write in your style. It's all about getting ChatGPT to understand frameworks and how you do things, and then it will do the doing for you after you give it the thinking. So you want to do two things before directing ChatGPT to expand your outline into chapters. You want to choose a narrative style, and you want to choose the character's point of view you want ChatGPT to write in. So narrative style is a way of presenting connected events in order to tell a story. There are 4 different styles. You got linear, nonlinear, quest narrative, and viewpoint narrative, POV, which is usually first person and third person. Not a lot of people write in second person, but I know that there are some situations where you would want to write that way, but we'll keep it simple. I like to use third person omniscient narration for my stories, especially when I'm doing science fiction. So after you choose that, you want to prompt. So after you got that, you want to prompt ChatGPT to take your bullet outlines or your expanded outlines and create chapters from them. So if you don't go the route of creating bullet outlines, each bullet being its own chapter, and you just have a simple outline, you'll want to prompt ChatGPT to break the outline into chapters. And the prompt can be as simple as split this outline into, let's say, 34 chapters. And after it gives you the output for your chapters, you can use these prompts to expand them even more. Expand chapters 1 through 2 with more detail, expand chapters 1 through 2 with more detail and include dialogue, or expand chapters 1 and 2 with details about X and include dialogue about X. And then you can also use expand chapters 1 through 2 using third person narration and include dialogue about X, Y, and Z. And you'll want to continue this process until the chapter is expanded to what makes sense for your novel. If you have all you need for that chapter, move on to the next. I would try to keep it, when using ChatGPT to generate chapters, full chapters, I would try to keep it to expanding one chapter at a time, because sometimes if it's too long, ChatGPT can stop midstream, and you'll have to continue to prompt ChatGPT to expand, and then you get into this weird issue where it'll start to repeat things. And this is just me working on a science fiction novel. You'll be able to see this once you download the novel writing system. And this is just me expanding the chapters. And these are just example prompts of me expanding the chapters. So write chapter 1 of a science fiction novel where the protagonist is a seasoned bounty hunter named Jace, who is tasked with hunting down a notorious drug lord. Begin chapter 1 where the setting is XYZ. Start chapter with a scene where Jace and his brother, a skilled hacker and detective, are approached by a wealthy businessman who hires them for a dangerous case. Write chapter 1 where Jace and his brother are setting off on a journey from the streets of a New York city to an icy surface on Titan, a moon of Saturn. Begin chapter 1 with a high-stake action scene where Jace and his brother are on a mission to stop a highly addictive drug from spreading across the solar system, and the list goes on. And this is the output I got by using the prompts above to expand the chapter. And you'll be able to see this once you download the novel writing system. You can also use more prompts like write chapters 1 and 2 using whatever narrative style that you want from the character's point of view. Example, write chapter 1, introduction, using third-person omniscient narrative from the viewpoint of Jace. If you want certain chapters from a different character's point of view, you can prompt ChatGPT to write from those different characters that you want. For example, if you have an antagonist and you want some of the chapters to be told from their point of view, you can prompt ChatGPT to write chapters 1, 5, 7 using whatever narrative style from the antagonist, and then you can have the other chapters written from the protagonist or side character's point of view. Again, you want to remember to watch for consistency and make sure the continuity fits your outline. If you are unsure, you can ask ChatGPT, for example, does the chapter remain consistent and congruent with the plot and the fleshed out outline? Are these chapters consistent and congruent with the plot and fleshed out outline? If not, ChatGPT will let you know, and then you can prompt it to correct the inconsistencies. After you have that, you can move on to chapter revision. This is as simple as pasting the chapter into ChatGPT and then telling it what to change or what you want different about the chapter. And then it'll give you your new chapter, and you can paste it back into your template, and then do this again with any other chapter that you need to revise. All right, the last thing we're going to talk about is titles to end this walkthrough. And titles are pretty simple with ChatGPT. You can get creative if you download the novel writing system. I have frameworks for creating, I have frameworks for creating attention-grabbing titles for your novel. And what you'll want to have is the overall theme. You'll want to prompt ChatGPT to generate titles based on the theme of the novel. And then once it gives you a list, you can choose the best one. But I like to get a little more creative than just asking ChatGPT to produce a novel based on the overall theme. It does a good job, but there are situations where you might not be feeling the output that it gives you. So here's a framework I like to use in ChatGPT. I'll have it create something that's short and punchy. I'll make sure it has a subtitle. I want it to hint at the beginning and end and leave the middle to the reader's imagination. I want it to be evocative. I want it to be unforgettable and memorable. And then I want it to have genre-specific words, key phrases, or anything that is associated with the overall theme of the novel. You can also have characters' names included, literary devices, in the settings. With all that being said, that is the walkthrough of the ChatGPT novel writing system. If you haven't already, go ahead and grab the ChatGPT novel writing system. Not only will you have prompts walking you through creating an idea, generating plots, character development, building worlds, outlines, chapter expansion, revising chapters, proofreading, and generating titles. You'll also get access to frameworks that I built for ChatGPT 4 that takes advantage of its new capabilities to create more creative outputs. You'll have access to irresistible story ideas, believable character frameworks, immersive world building frameworks, compelling dialogue frameworks, and much more. With that being said, thanks for watching. See you in the next one.